Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Ike from Flipside Music, the great American guitar store, right?
Yep.
Yeah, see? I remembered to say it this time. The marketing department told us we got to do that whole thing.
Are we off center? I think we are, but it's okay.
Maybe we just shift this way?
Yeah, I'll just scoot in just a little.
Oh, come closer, fella.
There. Now we're closer,
Come closer, big fella. All right. What are we doing? Hey, what's happening?
Yeah, first episode of September. Dylan.
I'm here with Dylan, and we're in September. We did one last week, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. It was the week before.
Yeah, last week, yeah.
All right, episode no.
It's 31 last month. I think it's
10.
31. Yeah, I think this is 32. I'm pretty sure 32.
Yeah, season 3, episode 32. So we got a few more months before we get into season 4.
Whenever I make the sheet, I just go with what my gut tells me.
Yeah, and then we'll be in season 4. And luckily enough, Netflix did pick us up, so we are renewed
for another.
we are renewed for another season.
They'll fund anything these days.
Yeah, they don't give a shit, no matter how shiny it is. Okay, weekly question and answer show. I think I said that already. I don't know. What's going on? We're doing a thing. You ask a question, we give you an answer. It's exhilarating.
Yeah, we actually
all
had several questions this week, too.
I know. It's actually nice.
Yeah.
There's a few, different questions.
Yes.
So that's good. All right, let's go.
All right, we'll start with Nothing Here asks, since you guys buy and sell used gear at the shop, what's the most interesting piece or pieces of gear you have come across? I mean, the Univibe's got to be...
The Univibe's tops because it's ours.
Yeah.
So we got a 67 Chennai.
It's like having
Univibe.
one of the holy grails.
Right. Yeah. A Univibe that works, refurbished from like one of the only companies that refurbish Univibes in the country. And legend has it, through the whispering winds and the hallows, that
passed down through time.
Yeah, through generations and all such things, that Jimi Hendrix may have actually played this thing.
What's going on
out there? I know, we hear it too. Ziggy's like, wait a minute, what? What's this rattle? We didn't get robbed, and the guys are in there.
Yeah, just
duct taped. Help me, get out of here!
Jake and Nico are up there gagged. See?
They're like, what's going on? What is that?
I don't know. It is really weird. It feels like somebody's knocking on the front, but I mean, they would have answered it by now. So I guess we'll find out later. The joys of Flipside doing a live video.
What's going on over there?
Whether something's falling on the roof or we're having there's something weird. Yeah.
Ziggy's like, what? He's got that look like, what's happening? All right, well, let's proceed. Hopefully nobody comes in here shooting.
So yeah, pieces of interesting. Yeah, I would say the Univibes takes number 1.
That old Martin that came in. We had a 48 Martin that came in. This is years ago. That was really cool.
That, and I actually thought that it was an old Taisco, wasn't it? Was it Taisco or was it a different one of the other Japanese brands? But the one that War Vet brought in. Oh
yeah, it wasn't a Taisco. It was I forget the name now, but that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was a really cool with the amplifier.
Yeah, and the reason that was interesting was just the whole story, the backstory of him picking up. I think he was a Korean war vet, right?
Yeah.
And he stopped over in Japan and grabbed that when he was there. So.
And he traded that in to buy his nephew to buy his grandson a guitar.
Yeah,
which was really cool. They were really cool people. I haven't seen them in a while.
No, yeah.
So I hope he's all right. Hope everybody made through.
Yeah, well, and I hope the kids keep playing. Yeah. No, that was a pretty interesting one. But yeah, the Univibe. I mean, there's several ones that have come through. Even that Sound City wah, I think is personally interesting. Cool. Just if you like wah pedals, like that one's it's not going to be in the upper echelon of the ones that people want, but it's still part of history of when, when people were still making all the Sound City stuff, high watt and all that stuff was all basically out of that same shop at that point. So.
Yeah, there's been some pretty cool stuff. I mean, we've got some vintage gear that people have brought us, some stuff that they've built themselves.
Right.
Those can be hit and miss. Oh, check out this thing I built, and you're like, wow, this is an incredibly built guitar. And then there's other ones where you're like,
yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean,
but sometimes we get woodworkers that are great with wood,
right.
But there's the physics and the mechanics of a guitar that they don't quite know yet.
Yeah, because some of those guys tend to be
really
fixated on the aesthetics of and the presentation of like the wood rather than how playable the instrument is.
And then sometimes we get I've got 147 layers of French polish on this. I got at least 36.7 years of my life involved in polishing this.
Roughly 96,000 hours of time.
Right. Yeah. 96,000 hours. You know, they say that 10 makes you an expert. So I'm that like 9.
Well, that's a 9th degree expert guitar.
9th level black belt French polisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get those guys.
It's like world class 1 in 7 billion wood polisher.
Oh my god. Okay, so moving on. We got Tim White says, have you tried recording with an amp with built-in cab sim like the D20? Curious how well it works. So I haven't personally. Dylan has messed around a little bit, but Nico that works here, he recorded a whole album on the G20.
Yeah. I was just say and I would say I've had a lot of great experiences with the Captor in general. So the Captor is built into like the D20 and the G20, and I would say as a whole, I've had great experiences with the Captor because I actually use the Captor pretty much all the time at home rather than miking up one of my amps because that way I always have, regardless of what's happening in the room, I always have my direct signal, and then I also have the in the room sound. And so I personally love it. I mean, it's one of those things. People compare like a lot of the cab sim stuff always gets thrown against the Universal Audio aux box, and to me, like if you're gonna do a Captor versus aux box kind of thing, I feel like the aux box is pre-dialed by like studio musicians to sound good right from the get-go. There's no tweaking. Right. Whereas like the Captor is in the ears of the beholder. Like if you have a good ear and you're good at tweaking, different variables, you can get it to sound exactly like you want. But there's a lot of front end work. It's kind of one of those things like having a Floyd Rose, where a lot of front end work, but once you do it, it pays off.
It's killing.
Yeah.
Something to throw in there too. Don't discount like the Waza.
Yes, the tube expander.
That because that kind of runs with the aux box, but it has I think a little bit more capabilities in it.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in something to
if you're gonna go Captor, aux box, or tube expander, all of those are good options. And then the G20 and D20 basically just have stripped down versions of the Captor, so it's like it's basically presets that are already kind of dialed in. Whereas like the Captor X, you're able to like with
really tweaking.
Yeah, and even with your phone, like you can sync it up to where you like any of your presets that you've made, you can load at any time via your phone on Bluetooth, which I think is pretty cool.
I agree.
But yes, I think they're awesome. So
I've actually been thinking about picking up.
Oh yeah,
a D20 for at home, but I don't know if I want the D20 or the G20 because the G20 definitely sounds great for gainy stuff.
Right.
But the D20 has a really great, it's a great sound for pedals.
Right.
But it also does have a nice drive with the boost.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of.
I think you could get there still with the G20. It's just one of those things of, do you want to have the D20 and buy like one of the G pedals to go with it,
that's
or
kind of what I was thinking.
Do you just want to have that built into the amp? Yeah.
And that's what I was kind of thinking.
Right.
Like maybe I get the D20 because I got the nice clean platform with a little bit of gain, which
is more which
is kind of more my thing.
Right.
And then just put in a G4 if I wanted to have that extra, or G3.
Well, that one would
G4.
be a good neutral thing. Like if you are messing with any pedals, that would be a good neutral starting point all the time. So
and that's where I was thinking. So I might do some stuff from home when. I don't know. We got a lot of stuff.
Yes,
we got a lot of stuff in the works.
Yeah, we are big fans of like the current cabs. I mean, it's amazing what that stuff can do now. Like, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're considering a D20 or a G20, I'd say it's well worth it.
Yeah, especially for that use. If you're like, that's a great aspect of it that not a lot of people. It's not that a lot of people don't take advantage of it, but we get a lot of people that seem to kind of go. They think about the amp one way or the other rather than all of what it's able to do, because like those things really are, because they're Swiss Army knives depending on what else you're running. So
and you could also use it out,
right? Exactly.
So there is a line out. You could use it if you're
you'll never find a happier
playing at church
guy.
Or something like that. You'd have a line, or if you're playing a casino gig where they don't want cabs. I mean, you could.
Well, you're still having a tube-driven amp tone, but you're not having to necessarily deal with the cabinets.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I mean, if you're doing like a casino gig or a thing where they don't really want amps, you could just be like, hey, it's my monitor.
Right.
Have the cab towards you. There's your monitor, and they can line it out and put it in the mix and do whatever they need to do through the PA. So not only is it great for home recording, but it's a giggable.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sound guys that, at least the guys that know about two-note stuff, especially compared to the aux box, because you can basically buy 2 captors for 1 aux box.
Yeah.
And so a lot of sound guys, at least some of them in town, will just get like 1 or 2 captors and keep them just in case. That way, if they got to deal with somebody that's having, like somebody that has like a blown speaker, because it's great. Because that's the thing, is like, even if you're using it with your amp's always safe. Because it always has that load on there. So like, even if you blow out a speaker, your amp is safe. Yeah. Which is, I think, great.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely worth it if you're in the market for one of those things. And you can also get one here. If
exactly.
You need to. We got them. We got them available. All right, next.
All right, Mr. Coombs, Ben Coombs, our preferred Canadian YouTuber. He asks, can you recommend a Soldano InABox style pedal?
That one's on you, man. Because I can't think of one.
Well, I was going to say, the slow distortion from Wampler is one of the few that goes directly for that. Like, that one's not, it's not trying to hide the fact that it's going for an SLO. In a way, it's weird. I kind of think, to me, like a lot of the LPD stuff, actually, by the time it all boils down, because it's all kind of coming back to that modded Marshall, like, core, that to me, like, I feel like depending on what amp you're running the LPD stuff into, you're going to kind of get that anyway.
You get a touch.
Yeah, you almost get it, especially with the 87. I would say you definitely get more into that SLO sound. But in terms of really hitting that one, like, that's tough, because the SLO is one of those things. It's almost like a Mesa. Like, it just kind of does its thing, and it's really hard to get that out of anything other than that amp. I think like the slow distortion does a good job. Like I said, any of the like heavily modded Marshall preamps tend to get into that vein. But there is something about Soldanos, because what's funny about them too, we had a customer that had one, and no matter what you threw into it, that thing only sounded like a Soldano, which was interesting, because like there's a lot of amps that'll have a huge change of character depending on what you throw into them. But that amp, basically, no matter what you threw into it, just did what it was going to do. And it's a great thing. So it's like, even though the Soldanos are kind of a one-trick pony, it's a really great trick. Yeah. But yeah, if you're going to go on I would honestly steer probably, I know obviously Ben knows that, but for other people that are listening, I would say the 87 is probably the easiest one from LPD to get close to that vibe from, I think. Oh, and a kind of an oddball one if you can find them. Menatone makes a pedal called the King of the Britons. Monty Python reference. They make one called the King of the Britons, and that one is also a Marshall preamp, but if you set it to like the 70s mode, and it actually has a built-in overdrive and gain, so you can actually get that one. If you really get it cooking, it'll kind of do the SLO thing.
Kind of pull it together.
Yeah, and that one is like, if you want a warm Marshall pedal, that's probably like, to me, that's outside of Lawrence's stuff, that one's like the best Marshall style preamp out there. It's just you don't ever see them. That's the main thing.
Sorry, I just keep. I'm all the king of the
King of the who?
King of the who?
Well, I didn't vote for you.
I'm your king. See, it's a narco state.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll get rolling into that. Okay, so Quentin F. and James asks thoughts on Sweetwater teaming up with an investment firm.
This is a good one, and I think you know more about it than I do. So
I don't know. We see, investment firms invest.
Yeah, and there's usually only one goal in mind.
And the one goal is to make as much money as possible. So, Sweetwater's already the biggest,
right?
Basically the biggest retailer in the U.S. for music gear.
Right.
I have a love-hate relationship with them because they do a good job, but they do, really draw a lot of business away from the smaller guys for things that the smaller guys do.
Well, they've really changed.
Everything that they do, we do. It's nothing different. It's just everybody thinks that Sweetwater's so great, and you get some stale.
Well, yeah, that's probably what they're best at, is doing like the small shop vibe, but on a bigger online scale.
And I'm not crapping on them. They do a really good job. Obviously, they're where they are. But a lot of your smaller companies in your town do the same thing that they do. Oh, we got a 45-point check on their guitars. Well, we check all our guitars before we ship them too. people just don't necessarily know that, and it's a go-to because they carry everything. Because when you do $200 million a year, you can carry everything. Yeah. So how is that going? How does an investment firm going to impact what Sweetwater does? And what they really do best is the customer service. We all joke about Gary calling you on Thanksgiving because you bought a pack of strings 9 years ago. You know, everybody kind of jokes about that, but that's also more marketing for them. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yes. So how is the investment company going to impact that company? I don't know. If it's just going to be, if it turns into a spreadsheet company like Guitar Center, where they really just run it on spreadsheets, it's just a matter of profit and loss. Everything about like the passion about this stuff is gone.
Right. Yeah. And if you've been to a GC recently, like the COVID era, I feel like has defined that or made it so obvious the way that GC run. Because like they literally are diverting most of their stock into Musician's Friend because they're trying to suit the online stuff. So they're literally just letting the stores just sit there with nothing. And so, like, to me, like, and so, like, they're literally diverting all their stock to certain things strategically at the expense of other things. So it's like, that is, like you said, that's what I guess I would assume was going to happen with Sweetwater is they're going to be trying to make more money for the shareholders rather than focusing on just the company as a whole.
Or on the musicians that they serve.
Right.
Because what happens is they're not serving the musicians.
No, they're serving the shareholders. Right.
And that becomes a different thing. That's what I mean, like when it becomes a spreadsheet company, it literally is about profit and loss, how much you make, what you negotiate. And then if they start wanting to cut this and that and the other, usually what happens is customer service is the easiest place to cut it because it's hard to quantify.
Exactly, yeah. You can't put a physical value
on what's happened there. So all of a sudden, hey, we got Gary who's been here for 15 years calling everybody in Colorado about strings and what they bought. And hey, you doing all right? Do you need anything? You want me to whip you up a half stack?
You need a neck rub or
Yeah, what do you need? You want me to bring you a sandwich and a half stack? What do you got? So when they start making those decisions, Gary's the first one that they may go, maybe we don't need 50 sales associate,
customer relation,
whatever they want to call the guys. Maybe we don't need 50 of them.
Right.
Maybe we could do the same job with 40. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, there's more money to the bottom line for whoever is going to get it. Now, obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of how Sweetwater runs their company. Now, the original owner guy is now switched over to being part of the board, so that's going to have an impact on how this... So it's very complicated.
Well,
it's
at least there's that continuation, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, we don't know, obviously, until...
But that just because you're the founder and the dreamer of that doesn't mean that you're not going to get overridden by the money.
Right. You know, well, and the majority of the board, which they'll have their own focus versus what he would have,
Right. So where things may fall off is you may see it with customer service.
I actually think, too, their inventory, I might be wrong, but I kind of think their inventory is going to, and I don't think it's going to necessarily deplete. I think it's just going to get less wide. I think they're not going to stock as many things. I think they're kind of like you said, they're going to spreadsheet it to the point of this model, this model, this model, and this model all sell, and these ones don't. So we're only getting a shit ton of these,
and that's what I think we're seeing with Guitar Center.
Right,
is that they're really spreadsheeting it to the point like they don't carry everything that they used to. It's just what sells, and that's why they've focused a lot more of their stuff, and even on some of the inexpensive stuff, because they're trying to go after that starter market. Like, this is just let's get Susie Q, soccer mom needs to get a guitar for, Susie too.
Right.
Because she needs to take lessons, so they just go to Guitar Center the same way. Like, hey, I need a handful of screws. They go to Home Depot,
right? It's literally the Walmart of that stuff,
right? And they go to Home Depot. Whereas if you needed specific screws, you'd go to Ace Hardware. Because there's an old guy there
with a mustache that knows exactly
what to do with it and how to do it instead of somewhere else. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to happen, but these are some things that I'll be kind of keeping track of and just going, let's see what happens with their, maybe your favorite candy goes to, because they realize, hey, we're spending X amount of dollars on candy.
Right.
Or maybe packaging or how they do,
even how they pack things.
How to cut time.
Right.
Time is money. They're going to cut that stuff. There might be certain things that they're going to cut out.
Well, I think
maybe their catalog they send out. Maybe the flyers that they send out. that's all cool stuff when you're small, but it adds up when you're doing 1,000 orders a day.
Well, that, and I think when you have a few select people that have built something that do appreciate the customer service part of it, which is obviously like what we said, that's what they're built on. When you do get rid of that, that is, like you said, that's got to be the easiest first spot they're going to go, because that would be the most, or the least tangible, like, aspect of the whole business would probably be their customer service department. So.
Right, and it carries one of the healthiest percentages of cost.
Right.
Because it's a payroll.
Right.
But then also you may see things like, hey, maybe healthcare stuff goes down. Maybe they redesign.
Well, they start doing that bullshit Amazon does, where they only give people a certain number of hours so that they don't have to give them benefits.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you may see some of that. That's all corporate maneuvering,
right?
Just to squeeze out more money for whoever, for the shareholders and the higher ups, and that's, that is what it is. So those are the things we may look and see, but time will tell on that. They may come in and all of a sudden everything stays the same, or it gets bolstered and even gets better. So we don't know. I'm just saying that those are some of the pitfalls we could see from something like that.
Yeah,
we've seen what it's done to Guitar Center.
Right.
All right. So moving on then. Or you guys?
No. I was just gonna say I would be curious to hear some of the guys, because I mean some of these guys have been around, seen some things, so I'd be curious to see what they think.
Quentin
about
used to work he worked in the MI industry. I mean, he did this. He did.
Okay, well, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, that's why I'd be curious to see what he kind of thinks is going on too.
Yeah, just call the store, Quentin, to be like, hey,
there's a shooting in Boulder. I actually did appreciate that, though. Yeah, he did call us one time to let us know there was a shooting in Boulder, and that we were explicitly not to go to Boulder.
Yeah, we might have to send him some more tone socks.
Right.
So.
But yeah, Colin James, last question.
Hold on. Colin James.
Breaks.
Thanks for... Okay, so if you guys don't know, I'm in the month of September. I'm riding my bike for kids' cancer, to help fight kids' cancer. Colin James, thank you. Appreciate it. Saw it this morning that you have supported me.
That's very nice.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll put the link in the... You want to put the link in...
Oh, sure, yeah.
In the video. And if you guys want to support anything, $1, $5, $3, $10, $100, $1,000, for those of you that $1,000 is good, support me. I'll get Dylan to put the thing in the link, because he does the video now.
Yeah.
He does the editing.
Yeah, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, so I'm riding, basically I had to do about 250 miles in the month of September, and that's it.
250,000? All right, I'm just kidding.
And I'm trying to lose a little bit of, my baby weight. I'm trying to lose a little bit of the baby weight, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, so you can run away from Wolfgang faster, too.
Right. I'm running. Well, Wolfgang, I mean, he's a monster.
Did you ever see a movie called A Walk in the Woods? It's pretty funny. It's with Robert Redford and Nick Nolte. But there's this part where they basically decide they're going to go on the Appalachian Trail, and it's like 2,100 miles or something that they're going to walk. And but there's
I've always wanted to do that, by the way.
Oh yeah, it was pretty interesting. But anyway, they're like on the second or third day, and they run into this like really annoying lady. And it's just funny because like the whole time when they first start, like Nick Nolte can like barely move, he can barely get up the hill, and then like as soon as they're trying to get away from her, he's just like sprinting up the mountain.
I'm gone.
Yeah. But anyway, it was pretty great. Anyway,
all right,
little detour there.
Yeah,
last question. Mr. Colin James asks, we asked about the bridge pickup last time, so what is your favorite neck humbucker? What makes a good neck humbucker in your opinion?
I don't know that I have a favorite neck humbucker.
No, I just know when I like it or I don't, and my criteria for that is actually pretty specific, but I don't know. I think yours is sort of similar.
I just like it to be, feel like it's a little bit compressed.
Creamy.
I
like it to be
creamy.
But
it needs clarity.
Yes.
And not muddy. And I don't care who makes that.
Creamy and sustain.
Yeah, and it's got to but it's got to have that little bit of...
Yes.
It's got to be a little thick.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's got to have a little ass.
Well, yeah, it's like thick, but juicy. Like a steak. Like a good steak.
Yeah. Yeah, like a good steak. Because, I mean, that's why I like... not a humbucker, but the G&L ASAT Classic MFD
and
pickup
that's
single coil is my favorite single coil pickup.
Well, that one has just enough output. I think that it almost does the humbucker thing of that, like you said, that slight compression and then that just kind of creamy, buttery kind of sound. Because to me,
it's almost got that Dickie Betts Allman Brothers slippery, warm, kind of creamy vibe to it. And that's a neck position
Right.
Single coil, and if you push it into a nice 6L or 6V or something like that, it does get that whole almost Les Paul kind of vibe into Dickie Betts kind of deal.
Yeah.
So
I don't use. Well, it's weird though, actually, because I use my neck pickup majority of the time more for clean stuff. So like when I'm playing clean, I just like when I'm playing the heavier stuff, I don't use it that often. But one of my favorite things that like Rory does in Cloudcatcher with his neck humbucker, he'll set his to where it's basically full tilt, and then in order to counteract all that bass response, he'll kick his wah on and just set it in a fixed spot. But so he'll still get like the creamy, thick sound of like the lead tone, but then with the wah, it kind of narrows it a bit.
Yeah,
and it's like that's also one of my favorite kind of like tones, or moves with a neck humbucker, because in band settings, I mean, I know a lot of you guys know, once you're in a band setting, depending on the genre, you're you're always living on the bridge pickup. That's why you'll see so many guys swear that like all you need is a bridge pickup, because a lot of guys just live there. But every once in a while,
for the most part,
every once in a while, if you can throw it in, because to me, like, you know, Univibe stuff too is another one where I feel like the neck pickup does the Univibe thing better, just because of the thickness, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Yeah, I think, like I said, it's more criteria for me. It's not that I have a fixed
specific one.
Yeah, it's more of like if it does it or it doesn't do it, then that's kind of the game breaker or deal maker, depending.
Game breaker, deal maker, shoemaker, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Well,
I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I think that is it.
All right. So I hope that helped you, by the way, Colin. So I'm not sure because it was a criteria thing.
Well, he had a lot of good input on his humbucker journeys too. It sounds like he's probably played a few more, at least for lengthier times than I have. Because, like I said, the bare knuckle stuff is just, I'm sure it's all great. I just haven't had a lot of personal experience with it yet. Yeah. All right. We calling this a day? Yeah, we're good. We're open. So. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out here as long as you have, for those of you that have. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side.